Hi, this is former Pro Bowl center for the Buffalo Bills, Eric Wood, and you're listening to Nate and the Fellas on the Circling the Wagons podcast. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Go Bills.
Where else would you rather be than right here, right now?
Hey, hey, let's go Buffalo! Hey, hey, let's go Buffalo!
The Bills make me wanna shout!
Welcome to the Circling the Wagons podcast, a podcast discussing the Bills all year round with interviews, news, recaps, and insightful fan discussion. Most times. Here's your host and lifelong Bills fan, Nate.
Hey, Bills Mafia. Welcome to another preview episode of Circling the Wagons, a Buffalo Bills fan podcast. I am your host, Nate, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't checked out our recap episode of the Bills destroying the Commanders in D.C. last week, please check that out. But this week, we're talking about a bunch of different things. We're obviously going to cover the Bills-Dolphins preview. That is the Bills playing the Dolphins in Orchard Park at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. We're going to talk about that game. We're going to go over some of the injuries, thoughts on the game. We're going to talk about the betting odds and our betting on the Bills segment. And then we're also going to pick two other games that we'd bet on in our Swami Stone Cold Sweated Out selections. But first, this episode is brought to you by the Twin Spires Sportsbook at Del Lago. We're going to be talking about a lot of bets today. So if you have the opportunity, I mean, we've been crushing it on our bets the last 3 weeks. I mean, just destroying it. I mean, if you've been betting how we have, you've been making money along with us. So if you hear this episode, head on over to the Twin Spires Sportsbook at Del Lago, at the Del Lago Resort and Casino. They have betting kiosks throughout there. It is a great time on Sundays. They have about, I don't even know if it's 20 plus different screens going on with different games, the Red Zone channel, I mean, everything. And then they have like 30 betting kiosks. So a lot of different areas to enjoy the game day Sunday or any other game. You can go there Friday night. It'll be busy. It's a fun time. Check it out there. Twin Spires Sportsbook at Del Lago. So I'm joined by my co-hosts, John and Mike, for this episode. John, are you ready to preview this Bills Dolphins?
Hey.
This Bill, how you doing, man? You doing good? You feeling good?
I'm doing excellent. I'm feeling amazing.
So you're feeling good about this game?
You want? Yes.
Yes. Is
That's
Is that
exactly
what you're going to say?
No, I'm feeling good about this game.
Good. Mike, it's good to have you on, man. How are you feeling?
I unmuted just to cough. I'm doing good.
Normally you clear your throat when the mic is muted and come on, but that's all right.
I got flustered.
You got flustered. Well, you coughed in last week's episode. I was re-listening to that one. I was like, oh yeah, you like unmuted, just go. So then you muted it again. That's funny. Good times.
You're always asking me for money though for this AI software that supposedly will clean everything up for me.
Oh yeah.
Gets rid of pauses. Gets rid of
all the ums.
Throat clearing.
Yeah. I just haven't gotten around to buying it yet. But yeah, all the money is going to go through to it. We're going to talk about a lot of fun stuff this episode. So first off, I want to talk to you just in general about your feelings going into the game. It's well known that the Dolphins put up a 70 burger on the Broncos in Miami last week, 70-20. Mike, when you saw the final score of that game, did that make you worried a little bit? And how do you feel about, like, just in general about the Bills going into this game against the Dolphins? Heated rivalry.
Who have the Dolphins played, Nate? Nobody. The Broncos are a college team in my mind. That means nothing.
I kind of agree with you on that one. The Dolphins definitely haven't played a team like the Bills before. I'm going to give you a stat, okay? So teams that scored 60 plus points are 1-6 straight up and 0-7 against the spread their next game since 1970. Now, we haven't talked about odds or anything like that, but 1-6 straight up doesn't bode well for the Dolphins just based on that statistic alone. So, John, I'll head it over to you. Mike feels good. He doesn't think that the the Dolphins have really played anyone, which I do agree on. How do you feel headed into this game? Are you a little stressed, or are you feeling good about it?
No, I'm feeling good. I think the Dolphins might be feeling overconfident after scoring 70 points.
I was gonna say, like,
and so that I think that's a factor.
I was gonna say, wouldn't you?
Bills are at home. We're not playing Miami in 110 degree temperatures, where half the defense is injured. I mean, like, when was the last time that we had Hyde, Poyer, and White healthy for a Dolphins game, right?
Well, we'll talk about Poyer in a minute in the injury report.
Oh no! Don't give me bad news.
No. So just so you guys,
not now.
Injury. It's a perfect time to bring up the injury report, John. Now that you mentioned it, when was the last time we had Poyer, Hyde, and White completely healthy for? Well, we might not have them this game because Jordan Poyer has missed the last two games or the last two practices. We're recording this on Thursday night. He missed Wednesday and Thursday. Did not practice. Not even a limited practice. Based on what Sean McDermott said today, he said that Jordan Poyer is the only player who won't practice. He is considered day-to-day, and it's something that happened in the game last week. Poyer missed Wednesday with a knee injury, so he's dealing with a knee injury. He did not practice with a knee injury for the last 2 days. So how does that make you feel, knowing that information?
Well, I'm still super confident in the depth, right? Taylor Rapp, really good.
Taylor Rapp's a really good backup.
Defensive backs in general are they have really good depth. So if that were to be the only injury, that would be unfortunate. I don't know. Did you know what the Dolphins injury report looks like? Is Jalen Waddle set to play?
Yeah, Jalen Waddle returned to practice today. He's not even on the injury report anymore. Or he clear concussion protocol. That's what it was. The only ones so there are 3 did not practices for the Dolphins. River Craycraft for wide receiver. I don't know who that is. Eric Izukanma, wide receiver, didn't practice. Doesn't matter. Jalen Phillips, though, their linebacker, pass rushing linebacker, did not practice for 2 days in a row with an oblique injury. Now, that could be important for the Buffalo Bills, not having him for pass rushing downs.
Yeah. I think I still like Buffalo here, right?
Yeah. So
forget 2.5, at least 7.
So things. Yeah. We're going to talk about 2.5 in a minute. But I mean, the Bills.
Yeah. Nate will probably bet Nate will probably pick the Bills to win, but he'll pick Miami for the spread like he did Week 1 with the Jets. I don't know why he does that, but he's probably going to do that again.
I do it because I like to win money, John. This has nothing to do with what my loyalty to the team that we podcast about and that we root for week in and week out has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that
I don't know. It's not like the Bills are favored by 14 here, and you're picking the Dolphins. Like,
hey, I haven't picked the Dolphins. Don't put that in there.
When it's less than a field goal, and you're picking the other team, I don't know. I don't know what to feel.
Well, first off, I picked the Jets the first week, and if you bet with me, you made money, like I did, because I ended up being the right pick.
Oh yeah, big Jets fan, Nate here.
You son of a bitch, John. You son of a bitch. I knew you were going to do this. It's like you can't just bet on the Bills week in and week out against the spread if you don't think they're going to cover. Now, if you do think they're going to cover, like I have the last 2 weeks, and I've won the last 2 weeks, it's one thing or another. So the Bills have won 9 of the last 10 matchups against the Dolphins. They won against them most recently in the playoffs, just barely, 34-31. They beat them in December of last year, 32-29. Then they lost to them the game before that, 19-21. Very close games. The last 3 meetings have been by 3 points or less. And this last game, the playoff game in January, it was when the Dolphins had their 3rd string quarterback. Of course, that was another game where Josh Allen imploded.
Well, it sounds like you're talking yourself up to bet Miami on this game. But something else to factor in to what you're saying here is like the Bills, were decimated by injuries last year overall, especially on the defense. So it's definitely something to factor in here where the only players that are out are Von Miller and maybe Jordan Poyer. Not saying that they're not significant, but the Bills' defensive line has looked really good without Von Miller. It's going to be amazing when he does come back, actually. That's going to be something.
Yeah, I almost want him to take his time. Is that weird? I kind of want him to make sure he's 100% before he comes back because the Bills have been doing so well. Here's an interesting stat on 2 Tua Tagovailoa. Mike's favorite quarterback, not named Josh Allen, Tua Tagovailoa. He was pressured on only 20 in 2023 out of 34 qualifying quarterbacks. He was pressured on 21% of dropbacks, which is the lowest. The second lowest pressure to sack percentage of 4.5%. 21st in rating at 57.7. I don't know what rating that is. Second lowest in average time. This is from Anthony, at Cover One. Second lowest average time to throw at 2.77. Fifth in average depth of target with 13.7 yards.
Yeah, so that's one thing. So like you look at the Washington game, right? And they had 9 sacks. I heard that they were all like every single sack was like 4 seconds from snap to sack, at least. So that, they're not going to get that many sacks against Miami, if any, right? I mean, but I think the key is getting pressure. If they can generate enough pressure, even if they don't get home, that's gonna be the key for the Bills defense.
I think the key is definitely pressure, but in the time to throw area, it's like, well, you have to cover so well that he has to hold on to the ball, right? I mean, that's going to be the key. That's what I think the key is to the game based on what we were just reading, is that it's going to be pressure, but it's going to be pressure because we can't rely on the Bills getting to Tua quicker. Like you said, that 4-second thing, like that's a big deal.
Right.
Sam Howell was holding on to the ball a lot.
Right. So really, you got to, from that standpoint, you got to like the Bills secondary, right? You got to like their linebackers, right? Everybody's a believer of Bernard now. Great. Fantastic. Making splash plays. Everybody loves it. The difference might be how McDermott approaches the game on the defensive side with how aggressive he's been. Does he send, if you blitz, you're leaving, you're not dropping as much back into coverage, right? Like, should you not blitz at all, like Frazier? you might have to go that way in this game.
Well, I feel like the Bills,
but I don't know if McDermott's going to do that though. I think he's going to be aggressive.
I think you're right. I think he's going to try to confuse Tua with coverages and make him think if he can have him think for just like a half a second longer, or maybe even a full second longer based on the coverages that Tua thinks he's getting versus what actually happens. Like that might be enough for the Bills to really get better pressure. I mean, we're talking about a defense that's playing really well this year. I mean, the Miami Dolphins offense is on fire, but we also have to consider who they played against. And then also the fact that, they haven't played a defense like the Bills. So their offense is great.
It might come down to a chess match between McDermott and McDaniel, really. Not to forget about the Bills offense, but which could really go either way, right?
Yeah.
But Miami's defense is average at best, right? So
yes, it's below average, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not that worried about the Miami defense. I don't think this is going to be like a 50-something to 50-something game though either. Like I could see both teams playing ball control to try to keep the ball away from. It could be 21-17. Both teams can run it.
I remember seeing DVOA. Hold on. Let's see. Dolphins are ranked. This is from Aaron Quinn at Cover One. Dolphins are ranked first in offensive DVOA, which you would think is one of the best.
Well, they're going to be ranked first in everything on offense right now.
In a lot of different. Exactly. So the Bills are ranked. So this is DVOA in general for the entire team itself. The Bills are ranked first in the NFL. And you probably want a DVOA. It's adjusted value over average, right? So that means which is kind of a cool stat because it's like if you get a 10-yard completion, it means more on like a 3rd and 9 than it does on like a 1st and 10, right? Like it weights things over itself. So it's kind of a cool metric. So the Bills are first overall in DVOA as a team. The Dolphins are second overall. Okay. And then offensively, the Dolphins are first, which I just mentioned, which we kind of thought, but the Bills are 5th offensively, which is still really good, right? Still top 5. Defensively, the Bills are 2nd in the NFL defensively, DVOA wise. The Dolphins, if you had to guess where they are defensively ranked, take a guess. It's not in the
18.
top 10. It's not in the top 10. I'll tell you that. 18?
18.
Mike, you want to go higher or lower?
Lower.
21st in the NFL defensively. So not a great defense. And then special teams, the Bills are 19th. The Dolphins are 32nd, but it's like I don't know if the Bills can really expose that because they're not great special teams wise. But possibly
32nd. That's pretty bad.
32nd is pretty bad.
Special teams have given up. The Bills have given up. I mean, 19th makes sense. They've given up some big special teams plays, but 32nd, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. So
easy win.
So let's talk about it. Let's get into the betting on the Bills segment. John, I'll put it out to you. Sounds like you're already pretty confident that the Bills are going to cover right now. As of now, if you're betting on it at the Twin Spires Sportsbook at Delago, the spread right there right now, it was 2.5. It is 3 now. It's 3 points now. So get on it now before it goes to 3.5. John, what would you say?
It's been up and down because it was 2.5, and then I actually bet on it when it was 3, and then after I bet on it, like 5 minutes later, it was back down to 2.5. Now it's 3 again. So, obviously, since I just said I bet on it, yes, I bet the Bills on this one.
Bet the Bills on it. Mike, the Bills are favored by 3. Who do you have in this one?
I wait for 2.5 and then I pound it.
What would you do right now, though? If it's at 3, if it stays at 3, what do you do?
I would wait.
What if it doesn't change? You wait. You just don't bet on it. You just wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah, not 3, 2.5.
Yeah, the worst you do is push, right?
Yeah, the worst.
Unless it's 3.5.
Then you bet the under. If it goes 3.5, what do you bet?
No, I'm saying 2.5. It's good.
Okay, 2.5, good. Like confirmed by Mike.
3. Pick a different game.
I think I still like the Bills in this one at 3. This isn't the same team that the Dolphins faced last year.
I'm surprised.
Stop, John. John, just give it a break, all right? I am this season. We'll go over records real quick. I am 3-0 when betting the spread for the Bills. Okay, just so you know, 3-0, 3-0. So I'm betting on the Bills to cover.
Big Jets fan Nate here picked the Jets the first week of the season.
I thought the Bills were going to win 22-21, so I thought the Bills were still going to win it. So,
but what was the spread though? It was like 1.5. Like the Bills had to win by 1.
2.5. It was 2.5. The Bills could have won by 2 or
1 or 2.
Yeah.
1 or 2.
Yeah. I was betting on that, and guess what? I actually wasn't right there thinking that was going to happen, but I still ended up winning the bet. So sometimes that's what happens. I can't help it, John. Someone's got to win.
You're really hoping for the Jets to pull it out. Really hoping for the Jets to pull it out, weren't you, to win that bet, huh?
John, are you always going to bet the Bills? The Bills aren't favored. You're always going to bet the Bills, like even if you don't think.
Let me tell you, during the drought, I did not bet the Bills very much.
Yeah, well.
So no, I will not always bet the Bills.
So my record betting.
I just have so far this season.
So 3 weeks we've been doing betting on the Bills, or betting on the Bills and bets in general. I've only lost 1 bet in that entire time frame. 3 weeks, I've lost 1 bet. You've made money if you've listened to us, especially me. John's been doing okay. Don't get me wrong. John's you won money if you listen to John, but you've definitely won money if you're listening to Nate Dogg over here.
Well, what's my record?
So so we do 3 bets each week. You are 6-3, and I am 8-1. 8-1. So
it was that one Houston game where I think I picked Houston one week, and then I didn't end up betting them, which was a good thing for me, but bad if anybody listened to me.
So don't.
Well, because I didn't bet until it was like closer to the weekend, right? So, and the injury information came out, and it's like, now I can't bet this game anymore.
Yeah.
And they get blown out.
And that's fair. If you have stipulations, we should do that, though. If you have stipulations of it, like, hey, don't do it. Like Mike just gave us a stipulation. He said, if you can't get it for 2.5, then don't bet it. That's his stipulation. I'm not saying that. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game, though. I will say that. So the over-under for Twin Spires is 53.5, right? I don't necessarily think that the Bills are going to – I don't think the game's going to go over. I think it actually might be more of a defensive battle, but I still think the Bills win by at least 3 or at least 4, I think.
I would lean under, but I don't like betting the over-unders because I personally don't fare well with that.
Yeah, me either. Well, I said
there's so many factors. Like, unless there's there's going to be a monsoon coming through or something, it's so hard to predict.
It's so hard to predict. Like imagine, like last week we just mentioned it. We didn't tell anyone to bet it, and I would never tell anyone to bet over under because, like you said, that's such a crapshoot. But I mean, last week we talked over under just in general. And like, well, if I had to pick one, I'd say over. I thought the Bills would win like 37-10. I think I said, which the over under was 43. So technically, though, I got 37 right, but it was 37-3. So even though the Bills blew them out completely, it was still an under bet. I don't like that. I don't like that as much. So I would always recommend against people, unless you're doing a parlay, same game parlay, where you have to tease it. I wouldn't recommend doing the over under. So, all right, that was the betting on the Bills segment, brought to you by the Twin Spire Sportsbook at Delago. So we both agree on that one, John. We both agreed on the Bills at 6.5 last week, which we obviously made out like bandits on that one. The Bills won by 34. So hopefully you guys all bet that one. Let's go into this week's bets as far as who we like, who we don't like, what we think is going to happen. John, do you have a bet that you'd like to start off with this week?
Yeah, I like New England +7 against Dallas.
Patriots +7. You think they're going to keep it close or even win that one?
Yeah, I think Dallas will win by not a lot.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at with it.
You think Dallas? Okay. Let's see.
What do you think? Good? No good? That's probably not on your list since you didn't mean to be like, oh yeah, I agree completely.
So if you look at the Twin Spire Sportsbook at Delago, it's +6.5. So obviously I like +7 better if you're doing your bet. But it's in Dallas. I don't love it. I don't love the Patriots right now to cover anything. I think the Cowboys are coming off a game where they were just humiliated by the Cardinals. I didn't like that game last week against the Cardinals because I'm like, the Cowboys are kind of a wild card, especially without Trayvon Diggs. And then also it being in Arizona. So this week it's in Dallas. I don't love the Patriots. I don't love what we've seen from them.
Pats have a really good defense. And the Cowboys' offense is kind of a mess.
They scored 40 points against the Giants. And then they scored 30 the next week against the Jets.
Giants.
They scored 30 against the next week
Jets.
against a better defense.
I'm just saying, the Patriots have a really good team, and I think they're being underestimated.
I wouldn't bet that one. I see what you're saying. I wouldn't bet that one. I don't like. I looked at that one. I didn't like it. I didn't like that. But teach his own. I will say last week. So I bet on the Patriots at -2.5. So I did bet on the Patriots last week, which ended up working out. So did we. We both bet on the Patriots actually last week. Maybe that's why you're continuing that one. Who did they play last week? All of a sudden, I'm forgetting.
The Jets.
The Jets. Okay, so they won. They just won barely though, 15-10. So we barely had that one covered. But
Well, 2.5. I mean,
oh, you're right. Not barely.
Is that what we bet? Right? Yeah. It's like
2.5.
all they had to do was win by a field goal.
Win by a field goal. So we like that one.
Yeah.
That was in New England. Yeah. It was against the Zach Wilson led Jets. Belichick against young quarterbacks. This one I don't like as much. It's just too much of a wild card. You bet the Broncos last week, and that's the one that got you. You want to talk about games that didn't go well. Broncos are +6.5 against the Dolphins. Remember that one?
Yeah, I remember that one.
Dolphins I think it was a 56.5 point difference between what you bet on and what actually happened. And I bet on the Seahawks -6.5 versus the Panthers, and they ended up winning by 10, I think. So I won that bet, but you were just like, actually, I don't like that one. I would bet the Panthers. I'm not going to use that as one of my bets, but I would bet the Panthers. Okay, all right, John.
I don't remember that.
Mike, do you have a bet that you like this week? John gave the Patriots +7. Do you want me to give mine first, or do you have one?
I like the Chargers at home to cover the spread against the Raiders. They're spotting the Raiders 5.5, anything under 7. Jimmy G's in the concussion protocol. Justin Herbert's lighting up the league. He's with Burrow sideline. He's up there with, not to Allen's level, but to one of the top 5 young gunslingers. 6 touchdowns, 0 picks. I think the Chargers are clicking on all cylinders. Second best yards in the league. 416 per game. What's not to love?
So what do you have the spread at? What you were looking at?
5.5.
5.5. Well, at the Twin Spire Sportsbook, it's -5. So you like that one even better. Pick the Chargers at -5.
I don't split hairs. Half a point.
It's okay. All right. So you like the Chargers at -5? That's a good one.
I had written down 5.5 as well, except I went the other way. But I had a stipulation. If we're talking about stipulations, my stipulation would be if Garoppolo plays, then I like the Raiders 5 plus 5.5.
Oh, so you
He's
like
in the concussion protocol, man. Come on.
Yeah, but we don't know. We still got it's Thursday. We got 2-3 more days.
So your is that your second bet? Real quick, is that your
If
second bet? Or
Garoppolo
no?
plays, yes, yes. If Garoppolo plays, because
So
we're
that's your
talking about
stipulation.
stipulations.
So
I
but
can
that
give
is
you
your bet.
another. I can give you an alternate bet if it comes down to it and he doesn't play, and like, oh, what do I bet now? I can give an alternate bet.
Wait, what are you saying? I guess I missed your initial.
It is kind of confusing. So he
What I'm
says,
saying is, if Garoppolo's inactive, I probably won't bet this game. But if he's active, I'll bet the Raiders. If it's still 5.5, if it's active and like there's a big swing in the spread because he's active, then I'm not going to bet it either. You know what I'm saying?
okay, yeah, let's not use that one. I don't like that. What's your alternate bet?
So
There's too many
it's
logical
a
statements.
blue moon on Saturday, the night before.
No, this is just one thing, one player, one spread.
Huh.
I only mention it because we were talking earlier about stipulations.
What
right?
bite?
Moon.
So like, here's my
One bite.
stipulation and bet.
Everyone knows the rules.
All right. If not, then I like.
Yeah, tell me your second bet. Let me tell you my second.
I don't
bet.
like.
Because John,
Yeah,
you
why
guys
don't
all
you go next?
Yeah. Let me go next. so
So my stipulation will that be if all the Chargers get food poisoning suddenly, and it's all their second string, and Jimmy G doesn't play, I'll double my bet.
That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
all those.
Yeah, neither does yours, man.
It's
Is Grapple playing or not? Like that's the whole point.
That's
thing.
a fair.
How do you deal with so much uncertainty in the game itself, but then you don't factor in?
It's just like setting your fantasy lineup at the end of the week. It's like, he's out, so I'm gonna put this player in. Like that. It's as easy as that.
True. That
I'm
is
discounting his ability to beat the Chargers.
I'm discounting his backup. That's what I'm doing. But
I think that's a good idea to get it. I think I like Mike's bet better because you get in now. If they find out that Jimmy G isn't playing, and I think the Chargers can win this one in general, but if you find out that Jimmy G is playing, that those odds are going to change from like what -5 to -9 at least. So get in now.
okay, that's too big of a swing.
You think that's too big of a swing with a
that might be
backup
too big of a
quarterback?
swing.
Oh, maybe not going to get any better.
Yeah.
If you like the Chargers, so
We started to see Prickly Nate, and then he restrained himself.
wait, what do you mean, Prickly Nate? Who's Prickly
Just
Nate?
Surprised.
Wait, is this a
Like
thing you guys have behind my
like
back?
a pineapple or a porcupine?
Here we go. No, wait.
Are you saying I'm defensive?
Sunday night, Nate wouldn't have let that one go.
What is Prickly Nate? Wait, what the hell does that mean? What's that supposed to mean? Is that an inside joke you guys have behind my back? Awesome.
So what was
Great.
your bet, Nate? Did you?
No, I didn't even get a chance to tell mine yet. So mine is
Nate's is the
have-
Dolphins plus 2.5.
John, I don't know how many times to tell you this. I bet on what I think is going to happen. Okay, so this one I think I don't love it, but the more I think about it, the more I like it. It is the Broncos -3 against the Bears in Chicago. And normally I don't like betting teams that are away teams especially with, so technically they're like 6 points, right? By that logic. But the Broncos, I feel like just went through such a major beatdown last week that nobody was expecting that. I mean, they were just embarrassed all over TV, all over SportsCenter, everywhere by the Dolphins hanging 70 on them. The Broncos are coming back this week and they're going to be pissed and they're going to look to take it out on possibly the worst NFL team in the 2023 season. Okay. So the Bears are they know they're bad. They're not doing anything about it. They can't do anything about it. So the Broncos are going to come in. They actually have some talent. They just never really use it. So I'm going to bet that one -3. I like the Broncos in that one to cover.
It's funny. I bet the Bears earlier today plus 3.
Did you? Oh, that was a terrible bet.
That's not even my second bet, but I had a free bet, and that's what I put it on.
The Chief. So it sounds like you didn't really think that one through, which makes sense. That's why you picked the Chicago Bears.
Well, the Bears are a better.
It was a free bet.
The Bears are a better team than the Broncos, so
They have
Bears
a
are
worse
better
record.
team, that's why
They have a worse record. Wait, are they both the same record?
I don't think either one have won a game, but
well, what are you going to do?
Better.
Base that on the fact that the Broncos just lost 70-20.
Look, they're both bottom 3 teams, right?
Yes. I think the Broncos are less of a bottom 3 team. Who do I trust more? Justin Fields and who's the Bears head coach? Do I trust Justin Fields and Matt Burfless, or do I trust Russell Wilson and Sean Payton to come through?
But if you're making like this game could go either way, right? You're making this like you're one of your top 2 picks. Like that's hard for me to get on board with.
What do I see as more likely? Who do I see more likely going 0-4? The Broncos or the Bears? The Broncos. I think the Broncos aren't as bad as last game showed. Like they just barely lost to the Commanders and they barely lost to the Raiders.
Commanders aren't very good either.
No, they're
They're
not.
a bottom 5 team.
But the Bears would have easily lost to both of those teams, the Commanders and the Raiders. So they would have easily lost to the Dolphins. The Dolphins would have had 90 on the Bears. They're terrible. I like that one. So that's my pick. That's my first pick. Okay, John, what's your second pick? So you don't. Just so I know, you don't like my pick, right? I'm just making sure.
I don't.
Okay.
No.
Well, I don't like the Patriots pick. You're probably wrong. Go ahead.
All right. I don't know. What was my other one?
Nate. There's prickly Nate for you, Mike.
How about Tennessee plus 2.5 against Cincinnati?
Ooh, the Titans. Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Plus 2.5.
Yeah, I'll go with that one.
Man, that goes
since you guys didn't like my stipulation bet.
I didn't. I had the Bengals in that one. I picked the Bengals in that game.
Of course you did. Of course.
I picked the Bengals at 2.5. I think they demolish the Titans. I don't think this is a fairly close game. I think that are they 1-2 now? Yeah, they're 1-2 now. I think this is their get right game. I know it's in Tennessee. I don't think that matters. I think they come back to life this game.
I just love how Cincinnati keeps throwing out an injured Burrow every single game. Like, why didn't they just rest him for a couple weeks and then he'd be good? Like, I know, right? Why did they keep throwing him back out there?
Well, now they have to double down, right? Like they have to keep him out there.
The longer the season goes on, the deeper a hole that they get in, like they're going to be screwed.
I don't understand why you screw. I think it's like trying to get too cute, picking these middling, will they, won't they bullshit teams. It's like it's still relatively early in the season. None of the fan bases have like completely given up, so you got money coming in on the other side. Like the play is to pick the dominant freaking teams. So like my next pick is Kansas City over the Jets. 9 points is nothing. It's gonna Mahomes, Kelsey's gonna be trying to impress Taylor. Come on. Like I'm parlaying Bills, Chiefs, Chargers, and then dumb betting the rest of the year because I'm just gonna be rolling in it. And you guys are talking like, oh, the Bears and the Titans and the like what? No.
I do like the Chiefs bet. I do like that one. I had that on my list. Maybe I'll change mine to that one too. You convinced me. The Chiefs are done.
I can't disagree with the Chiefs. I can't disagree with that pick.
That's a good one. If I had to bet, I like the now, John. Which one would you change of your 2 picks to pick the Chiefs bet? Because I do like that one. I think I might change one of mine based on what Mike said. Because I had that on my list.
Not changing. I'm not changing. But if I did, I'd pick. I'd keep my Patriots pick and change one of the other 2 with the Chiefs if I had to.
I'm going to change my Titans pick or my Bengals pick. I like that one. I didn't love it. I like the Broncos one better, but I think I like the Chiefs one. You're right, Mike. You're right. Why play with the bottom? The guys fighting over scraps in the AFC, right? Let's pick the teams that are the top dogs.
Yeah, the other factor in it is like what's the juice on each of these games, right? So like, is it like minus 121 versus minus 105 versus plus? You know, if you're betting the underdog, then it's different.
I'm not doing money line. I'm doing points. So like, I think the Chiefs would dominate the Jets more than 9, right? Bills getting 2.5 and Chargers 5 or 5.5. Like, I think that'll work out.
Yeah. Mike, I like both of your bets more than John's.
You haven't
But
liked
that's-
mine any week, and I haven't liked yours any week.
No, actually,
so
I do. I liked yours.
that's not
Besides,
surprising.
if you didn't crap all over my pick
we
last
picked,
week, the Seahawks versus the Panthers, and you're just like,
What-
I'm not going to bet on this one, but I would totally bet against that one. And you can't admit that you were wrong.
yeah.
With that many games, we should be able to come
obviously,
up
I
with
was.
a
There's
united
no
front.
admitting. If I was wrong, I was wrong. There's no admitting.
I need you to be. I need you to come out
happened.
loud and say like, yeah, that was. I should have bet that one. You're right. I should have bet that one. What
We
did
did both agree on New England last
we did?
week,
And
so
we were
did
both
do
right.
something.
Yeah.
Just-
We both agreed on the New England bet and the Bills bet. We both won on those. So, Mike or John, you did a Tecmo Bowl simulation for this game. What did Tecmo Bowl say?
you know what? The game got corrupted, and I don't have a result for you.
Really? Well, you can run it right now while we finish the podcast. Just speed it up a little bit. Did it really get corrupt, or did the Dolphins
I already
win?
put it away.
So the Dolphins won. Got
It
it.
was corrupted.
So here's a question for you guys, because just in general with the Bills Dolphins game, those were the Swami, those were the Swami Stone Cold Sweated Out selections brought to you by the Twin Spires Sportsbook at Delago. Mike, what do you think of the name for that segment? The
Sally sells by the seashore.
John cracked himself up with that one. Mike,
Because I couldn't even say it.
I knew John alliteration amused him. It's a good name, mate.
oh, you insulted both of us. Screw you, Mike.
He's
Yeah.
right, though. I do like alliteration.
Who doesn't like alliteration? Jeez. Everyone likes alliteration. That's why it's a thing. Swami Stone Cold Sweated Out selection. You got the Raiders.
Oh, you know what? Like, maybe this is the timeline where Taylor Swift breaks up Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, because you know she's just getting next comfy with Kelce to try and get to Patrick.
That would be a really good celebrity
And then she's going to sing a song about it.
from tight end to quarterback.
Maybe Mahomes will throw some passes over the middle that he knows Kelce will just get his head taken off, and then that's that.
So
It's devious. That's all I'm saying. Stay tuned.
yeah. Well, you were saying last week that you thought that Taylor might be trying to get to Josh somehow by getting her foot into the NFL through Travis Kelce, right?
That's my pessimistic view.
Josh is too young for Taylor, though, isn't he? How old is Taylor Swift? She's 33. Oh, she's not as old as I thought she was. That's not too bad. 33
Same
to
age as
27.
Kelce.
Oh, is she?
I think
Huh.
Kelsey's 33, I think.
33 to 27. That's not too bad.
Like the great Larry Bird jersey.
Great Larry Bird jersey 33.
Takes you back, doesn't
It
it?
does. Speaking of Taylor Swift,
Maybe she's just trying to get closer to Andy Reid.
so do you guys? I kind of said something over Twitter, which got a lot of clout. And it was basically just saying like I don't hate the Dolphins, and I know John feels differently, so I won't ask him to start it out with. But like
Dolphins are my least favorite team. So
I know. That's why I was holding off on talking to you about it. But Mike, so you have the Dolphins, and like they have it. This is kind of like this is our biggest rivalry at the moment because the Jets, lost Aaron Rodgers. Even though they beat us, they're probably not going to finish over 500. The Patriots, they still haven't recovered from Brady leaving. The Dolphins are 3-0. This win this next week will put the Bills in first place in the AFC East. I mean, the Dolphins are the biggest rival the Bills have as far as winning the division goes. I don't hate them. Like, I feel like my hatred for the Patriots came from, losing for 20 years from them, them constantly cheating, trying to evade the rules and regulations of the game, trying to find every leg up they possibly could to win. And obviously it worked because they won 6-7 Super Bowls, but I don't hate them. I don't hate the Dolphins. There's a lot.
Easy when you cheat.
There's a lot to like for this team. Like, I mean, Tua, Mike, you're like Tua's biggest Bills fan. right? Like you love Tua.
Love him.
Like Tua's
Mike White too.
Oh, okay. You mean Skylar White?
A couple of big Dolphins fans here.
Like I don't hate them. I don't hate them anymore. I used
What
to.
John does not grasp is holding on to that anger is like grabbing that hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else, and you're only burning yourself, John. Why not just you enjoy the game? You
Not
hang
if you
out with
wear
your
an oven, Matt.
friends? Is he engaged in like epic
Oh, I'm gonna
Twitter
enjoy the
battles
game.
or something, or what? Like, what's the like? If we were born in Miami, we would be cheering for the Dolphins. Or are you one of those crazy people that thinks like
Don't make
John, like, oh, you would have found the Bills if you were born somewhere else? Are you like one of those crazy people? Not Bills, but like religion. Like, oh, is it any? How is it that we're all the same religion?
If I was born in
I'm not going to dignify that with a response.
if I was born in a Muslim country, I definitely would have found Catholicism for sure. No doubt. I would have searched it out, or Judaism or something like that. You know, the exact opposite of what they, yeah, for sure. As if it wasn't just, if I was a Dolphins fan.
No, Patriots fans, those are assholes.
Those are complete freaking assholes. Pieces of shit, if you ask me. Talk about Jets fans. The Jets fans are the biggest loudmouth douchebags in all the AFC East, and I know this because when I was in college in my fraternity,
You knew one Jets fan.
most of them were Jets fans, and they were the biggest. I mean, I liked them a lot when it came to everything but football. They're the biggest assholes when it came, like, not even just like talk shit. It was just like they went out of their way. You'd be having fun at a party, and they'd be like, fucking Buffalo Bills suck. It's like, dude, we're at a party. There's girls here. Who gives a shit about football? Like, why are we even talking about it? Like, those are the kind of people that Jets fans are, because that's all they know. You know, they won a Super Bowl 60 years ago that no one remembers, and they have that to hang on to, and they're completely irrelevant other than that, besides a butt fumble.
But I mean, to be perfectly real here,
I've been real this whole time.
I obviously hate the Dolphins. I don't like 31 teams, right? So, like, is that a surprise?
I feel like you have to hold on to less hatred in your life, John. I feel like that would be very releasing for you to just kind of like just week by week. Let's say you just concentrate that hatred week by week, right? Like I get it.
So you have a second favorite, a third favorite, a 14th favorite team. Yeah.
Do I?
Jets, Dolphins. You like?
I like the Packers.
You bet on the Jets.
I like the
You're
Packers.
talking up the Dolphins. You like the Packers. Yeah.
I like the Packers. Same. Like they'll never move. The ownership.
I know you
is
like the Packers.
community. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a cool franchise. I wish the Bills had that. Yeah.
It's how much consternation would it have saved all of us when it was like, oh, they're moving. Like all the.
If we could all just buy it between all the Bills fans and then the whole country. Yeah.
Bills are one of the few teams that haven't ever moved, actually.
Yes, but it was always a sword hanging over our head.
Mm-hmm. No, we're good right
So
now.
if that could be avoided, that would be preferable. Plus, when you buy like a sweater, like it would just be going to the community or the team rather than
I'd buy even more Bills stuff.
a human.
So, John, do you hate the Dolphins because of Brian Cox, or just because that they were the Bills' biggest rival, or you just hate all 31 teams equally?
Not equally, but like no, like well, the Dolphins thing is weird, right? So like growing up, the family always hated the Dolphins the most, and I think that was a lot of residual from the 70s, right? The Bills lost every single 8 games to the Dolphins in the 70s.
That would be annoying.
Week one of 1980, the goalpost came down when the Bills beat the Dolphins in week 1. So it was a big thing. Obviously, I wasn't alive then, but I was brought up. And then, of course, growing up as a kid, Kelly versus Marino and that whole thing. Obviously, the Patriots and Jets weren't factors at that time. So, like, it was always a thing. And then the Brian Cox stuff, right, between him and the fans, was always a big deal. And now we're back again. Allen and Tua and this and that. So, like, to me, I mean, obviously the Patriots during the drought was a huge thing, but the Bills weren't even competitive anyway. So as much as I hate the Patriots, I still hate the Dolphins more. And I hate the Jets. I still hate the Colts. They're not even in our division anymore. But like, like It's all. Could you imagine if we had Peyton Manning and Tom Brady in the same division during the
I
drought?
try not to think about that.
Maybe we would have got a number. Maybe we would have got a few more number one picks.
Yeah.
because we're always like 7 and 9, right?
Yeah. Two good teams would have definitely knocked us down to like 1-15.
Maybe it's just a question of semantics. Maybe you're using hate where you really mean prefer, right? Like I prefer, or I love the Bills,
Bills.
and then I don't like the other.
Yeah, I
team,
definitely
but
prefer the Bills. You're right.
You
I
hate-
prefer the Bills. It's
hate
semantics. Like
child hunger, someone trying to murder you.
it's all context, right?
Those are things
Like,
to hate.
yeah, it's all the context of what we're talking about.
I do hate child hunger also. And I also hate, I hate people trying to murder me too. That's not cool. That's not cool. Not a fan of that.
Maybe it's just a limitation of.
I
our
prefer
language.
not to be murdered. How's that?
You're anti-self being murdered. You're
Yeah.
anti becoming unalive.
Yeah, I guess, you brought up a good point, John, with the 10 years of the 70s to the 80s where the Bills didn't win once. Like, I didn't live through that. And I didn't have family members that were embittered by that, so much so that they made you bitter to the same. That's like different cultures hating each other because there was a war that happened, right? Like before you were born. Speaking of religions and stuff like that, like just, yeah, they did that to us before you were born. And you're like, yeah, I hate them too. Like you were baptized in hating the Dolphins in a way, which I wasn't. I
So
just
nature
didn't-
versus nurture.
Yeah, I didn't grow up.
It's probably a combination.
I didn't like Brian Cox. Like I hated Brian Cox. I remember being a little kid and being like, fuck this guy. Like, right? Like just, I hope this guy gets injured, right? You're so angry as a little kid. And then I grow up and I'm just like, yeah, what do you expect?
Yeah, I remember seeing him like spit at fans in the stands, and then like they throw a beer bottle back down. It'd be great.
He was like the heel though of like a WWF wrestling match, right? Like he was the bad guy, and it was just like that's how I look at him now. Though I don't look at him as like a real, just like the guy. Who's the most famous heel in wrestling? What is that? Can I Google it? Top 10, 15 wrestling heels ever. Randy Savage, of course, they started at number 15. Vince McMahon, of course, I knew it was Vince McMahon. Just couldn't put his name together. Vince McMahon, Ric Flair, Randy Orton. I mean, Triple H. That's all I see Brian Cox as now is just a heel for the Bills. Like, I find what he did less offensive, flipping off the double bird, than, the Patriots being up 35-3 against the Bills in the fourth quarter and them throwing bombs to Randy Moss when the Bills aren't coming back. Like, I take more offense to that crap than I did Brian Cox giving us a double bird. It's like, well, he's not supposed to like us,
Well, there's a couple different things. Like the Bills were actually competitive. Bills and Dolphins are competitive in the 90s. The Bills weren't competitive with anybody during the drought. I mean, they were competitive with lesser teams. I remember if the Bills beat a team, they'd fire the coach their next week during the drought. Like that's how bad the Bills were. They're like, oh, we lost to the Bills, we got to fire the coach.
Yeah.
And to us, it was like hilarious. Like, oh, great, we got him to fire their coach, and then we'd proceed to lose our next 6 games. Like, it's totally different. Like, we weren't competitive at all. And don't get me wrong, I freaking hate the Patriots and the cheating and everything else. But like, if I had to pick a number one, it'd probably be Miami. But it's really close.
Who would number two be?
New England.
Patriots?
New England's number two. It's really close. And number 3 is probably also really close to number 4. Like, they're all, I don't like any of them.
Well, don't get me wrong. I don't like any of them. I just don't hate them, right? Like we're playing against the Dolphins. I don't like them. Like, I don't want them to win. But I try to look at it objectively, as we do on the podcast, trying to see things from...
No, I'm
general
super
point of view.
realistic about the Bills.
Well, like, if I was a Dolphins fan and I was watching this team, like, this is a likable team. Like, Tua's playing, like like I said, Mike loves Tua. Like Tua's a likable.
Yeah, I love
quarterback.
Tyreek Hill in the stuff that he's done in the past. Great stand up guy.
Not a fan
Love
of Tyreek Hill. I got to be honest. That would be tough for me to justify as a Dolphins fan. But you find a way. I mean, the Bills have had some. The Bills have O.J. Simpson on their Wall of Fame, right? And you're justified by saying
the glove didn't fit. The glove didn't fit.
Well, Tyreek Hill's not in jail, so there you go, right? Like you find a way to justify everything. If he's in jail, he'd be in jail if he was that bad of a guy, but he's not. So there you go. You find a way. Mike, can't you justify anything in life, anything you possibly want to?
Anything.
Remember you used to work with someone that would like go to the casino, like play the slots like every weekend, and she couldn't afford it, but she's just like, I deserve it. I deserve to be able to do that.
I work hard. She wasn't like, I can barely pay rent. Like, all this stuff. It's just like, I work hard. I deserve some time. You can justify anything to yourself if you want to. I need that new pair of shoes. I need that, I need to go on that vacation to the Maldives, right? I work hard. So you find a way to justify anything. If Josh Allen, you found out, drowned a puppy, you wouldn't be like, he needs to leave Buffalo. You'd be like, that's unfortunate. But if he doesn't go to jail, then that's a terrible example. But
well, Michael Vick went to jail, didn't he?
Yes, he did. So anyway, I'm just saying, like, I don't even hate Mike McDaniel. I don't think he's a terrible head coach. I think he's a good head coach.
I think he's funny.
Mike,
his interviews are freaking hilarious.
He's a likable guy if you're a fan of him. Mike, you gotta take off, bud.
Gotta go. Go Bills.
Cool, man. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate you. You give so Mike's bets: Chargers -5, Chiefs -8.5, and the Bills -2.5. He likes the Bills at.
I like all three. Parlay.
Okay, sounds good. Have a good night.
Ooh, parlay.
Gotta get that bread.
So, how do you normally bet, John? I'll ask you because we're talking about betting. Since we realized we don't really hate the Dolphins. Or I don't hate the Dolphins specifically. We talked about the Dolphins hate.
Yeah, you like the Dolphins and Jets.
Yeah.
We've covered that.
How do you bet these games? Because first off, we always say with these bets, and if you have been betting with us in any way, shape, or form, for the most part, like you've made money. Like we've made money. You've made money doing your bets. I've made money doing my bets. How do you bet? And by the way, you should never, we talk about gambling, TwinSpire Sportsbook at Delago, like, all these bets that you can make there, but you should never bet. My dad always said this, you should never gamble, which you can't afford to lose, right? Like we were just talking about, betting this and that, like you should never. So like when you do these bets, do you do like small bets? Like I don't expect you to give me a dollar amount, but like, how do you do it based on what? Because like we didn't even talk about player prop bets, by the way, for the Bills game. But for example, I'll give you an example without getting too specific. Like, for example, like I might bet we give like 3 games each week, including the Bills game. I might bet like, say, $10 per game on those, and then do like $5 prop bets, right? Like, so I don't bet as much on props as I do on games themselves. Is that similar to what you do? Or do you bet 10 no matter what?
I'll do less on props than I do on the games. And I really don't do parlays unless I'm doing like a teaser type of thing. And usually that's just like, a 2-thing parlay. Like I don't do too much with the parlays.
If you do a parlay, let's say you're doing $10 per game, you'd probably do like a $5 parlay. You wouldn't do like a $20 parlay because that doesn't, you're betting a lot more money for something that's more than likely not going to happen, right?
I think it depends. Like I might bet like, if I'm betting team A -3 and I don't know, I could bet 2 different games and then but like tease both of them in a parlay separately type of thing.
Okay.
But still bet like a similar amount, maybe a little bit less. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I don't do it too often.
You don't do it too often.
I do. I might bet like 5, 6, 7 different games, but like, varying dollar value bets.
You want to know what the player prop bets are for the Bills? So like for passing yardage, Josh Allen is over under 269.5 yards. Tua, 275.5 yards over under. Rush yards, James Cook, 56.5 yards. I might go I mean, knowing that the Dolphins defense isn't great, I might potentially go over on those. James Cook, 56.5 yards.
What do they have for Mostert and A-Chain?
So Mostert is over under 51
I'm
and
just
a half
curious.
yards. Mostert is 51 and a half yards. A-Chain isn't on there,
Oh, okay.
surprisingly. Dude, James Cook, 56 and a half yards. He's had over 98 yards both of the last games. I think not for nothing, that seems like an easy bet. 56 and a half yards rushing. He had 123 the week before, and then he had 98 this last week.
The only thing is, if the Bills have to resort to passing for whatever reason, like let's say the Dolphins score and touchdown, and then the Bills go 3 and out, and then the Dolphins score another touchdown, then what do they do?
They don't run the ball as much, but they still have to run the ball, which they've had success doing.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I haven't thought about the prop player bets yet.
No, me
What
either.
do they got for the receivers?
So receiving yards, they have Dalton Kincaid at over under 24 and a half. Dawson Knox over under 23 and a half. Gabriel Davis over under 42 and a half, which is like a staple that we've seen. Gabriel Davis over 42 and a half. James Cook 19 and a half. I want to almost go over on the James Cook one because it feels like he's good for at least one catch for like 15 yards. He just needs another catch, right?
Yeah, I've done like the combined rushing receiving on him before. I wonder what that's like.
So the combined rushing receiving yards for James Cook is 80 and a half, which he's had over 100 the last 2 games, well over 100. So you want to know how Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs have done the last couple of games against the Bills or against the Dolphins?
Really, really well, probably.
When the Bills lost against the Dolphins, Josh Allen passed for 400 yards, 2 touchdowns. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Stephon Diggs had 74 yards on 7 receptions, no touchdowns in the first meeting. And let's see the second game. Oh, I should have looked at how many rushing yards Josh Allen had. So, and then we're looking at Josh Allen had 304 yards the second meeting, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's been looking great.
That was in Buffalo.
Diggs. That was in Buffalo. Stephon Diggs had 5 receptions for 60 yards, no touchdowns. So based on that, 81 and a half yards is the over-under. I'd almost bet the under based on that. And then in the Dolphins playoff game, Josh Allen had 352 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's where he kept throwing it picks. Stephon Diggs, 114 yards. Gabriel Davis, 113 yards. Touchdown. Dude, I like the more I keep reading about this, the more I like the Josh Allen over 269 and a half yards. He hasn't not thrown for at least 300 yards in the last 3 meetings. I'm kind of curious what the weather's going to be like in Buffalo.
I think it's gonna be nice.
Sunday.
I think it's gonna be like
75 and sunny.
like-
75 and sunny.
yeah.
Do you like any of those bets? I like Josh Allen over 269 and a half. I like James Cook over 56 and a half. I like James Cook over 19 and a half receiving yards. Stephon Diggs.
What's the juice on those?
So it's minus 115. It's the same. It's the same for most of those. So like Josh Allen is.
So I know sometimes I like. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Sometimes I like a bet and it'll be like, it's like minus 146 or something. It's like, it's not as good anymore.
I know. No, these player prop bets are usually pretty much online. They're usually always about 115. Sometimes like the Dawson Knox over under is like over 23 and a half yards is minus 105. Under 23 and a half yards receiving is minus 125. So like that's about as much as they really go. So yeah, A-Chain isn't on any of these prop bets. So none of those you like? Okay. I'll tell you what I like. Not that people are going to bet it. I like Josh Allen over 269 and a half yards. Anytime touchdown score. I mean, Gabriel Davis is plus 145. That's not bad. I feel like he's going to score one. If I had to put money on anyone scoring one, I think it's going to be Gabriel Davis. Just feels right.
What's the what's the Kincaid? What's the anytime touchdown? What's that look like?
He hasn't scored a touchdown yet. You want to bet on him now? Is he due?
Well, I'm kind of thinking like, he's been.
You told me to bet on him a couple weeks ago, and I did, and no anytime touchdown.
I know. I'm revisiting. I'm curious. Like if it's like plus 800 or something, it's like, maybe
plus 215.
Maybe throw some. Maybe I don't know.
Khalil Shakir's plus 1,000.
And he scored a touchdown, didn't he?
He did score a touchdown last week, I believe. It's either last week or the week before. I don't know. Anyway, we just keep rambling on. I gave you my bets. I don't think I'll necessarily be betting all of those, but I'll probably bet one or two of those. And I'll share them on social media in case you guys are interested. I'll share it along with this podcast show notes. Again, this episode is brought to you by the Twin Spires Sportsbook at the Delago Resort and Casino. Be sure to get in your reviews of the podcast on our own podcast feed here on the Circling the Wagons podcast network. And yeah, you can get in on the giveaways. We just gave away like 4 shirts this past week from our TeePublic site. If you haven't checked out, which is really cool, we literally had 4 winners from the last 4 weeks claim their prizes within like a day or two of each other this past week. The podcast is doing great. If you guys would share it with someone, a friend or a family member or whatever, we certainly appreciate it. But it was funny because at least 2 or 3 of the 4 people that won were like, I never really checked your TeePublic store out before. Like, it's really cool. Like, there's some really cool designs there. And I'm glad you guys said that. We have over like 250 designs or so at this point. I just released some Victory Monday designs for anyone that's, getting ready for the Bills' victory over the Dolphins, which I do suspect. A couple of quick reviews from folks, and we'll do a giveaway this next Sunday on our recap podcast. So be sure to check that out. The review once from AJ Tharp, my guy AJ, he says, thoroughly love this podcast. Closest thing around to talking to your buddies about the Buffalo Bills. Third and Cole will live on forever. Thank you to AJ. John, not a fan of Third and Cole. Well, you know what, John, I don't know if I trust your taste in everything, but your best friend. So
it mustn't have been that good for you to not run it by Chris Berman.
I didn't know how many. If I talked to Chris Berman 10 times, I would bring it up. But if he's not even a current player, I can't just bring up. Chris Berman's on his lazy boy. This is how I picture Chris Berman in the interview, just in his lazy boy, his leather, nice lazy boy. It is in a study. Would you think it'd be like a living room or a study? Probably a study, right? Where he can be by himself. A study. A fireplace, a gas fireplace on the wall, right? Bookcases to the right and left with books he probably hasn't read because who has time to read? But like nice books, right? Like originals, Tom Sawyer original, Huckleberry Finn, right? Like those original Harry Potter, but never read them.
Or maybe he's read them and he's keeping them. Although once you read the book, what do you need the book anymore for?
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, who has time to read all that stuff? I mean, he's a busy guy. He has like 3 different things at ESPN. So
it's probably football books more so than Tom Sawyer and Wilbur
from like Bill Walsh. Yeah. This is from T. Cunnin 89. Said, "What a fun podcast! Perfect for all Bills fans. They give a good recap of the game and then just chat like they're having a few beers in the parking lot after the game. Love it." That's from T. Cunnin 89. Thank you guys so much for leaving us reviews. Please do on Apple Podcasts, or if you do it on Spotify or anywhere else, just take a screenshot of you doing that and just email it to us, DM us over anything on social media. Follow us all there at CTW Pod, Circling the Wagons Pod, anywhere where you get your social media feeds or podcasts. And yeah, thank you guys all for listening. This episode is brought to you by the Twin Spires Sportsbook at Delago. If you guys are anywhere in the area, in the region, do yourselves a favor and check that out and put down some bets, because you know what? Like, we're not always going to be winning as much as we are, but dude, we are on a streak, John. John, you only have a couple more losses than I do, but if you bet on everything that you did and I did, we're overall 12 games in. We are 20 for 24.
Yeah, and if I like the Jets as much as you do, then it would have been another.
It would have been 21 out of 24, but yeah. Well.
Yeah, I just don't like the Jets, I guess, and you do, so.
I mean, you don't like making money, apparently. I think that's what it is. If you like making money, you'd have bet similarly to what I did, but that's okay. It's okay. I like money just slightly more than you do.
Sounds like you're rationalizing.
Sounds. You could justify anything, and I'm just justifying the fact that
That you like the Jets. Got it.
That I like the money.
You know they're not even in New York, right? They're in New Jersey.
Yeah, well, I know. I'm very well aware. I hate the Jets. I hate the fan base. I don't hate the Jets actually because they're not relevant. They're like whatever, right? Like we don't even think about them for the most part. I don't like their fan base though. They're assholes. So yeah. Anyway, John, thank you so much for coming on, giving your thoughts and your picks. And do you have any final thoughts about this Bills-Dolphins game? Probably the game of the season, as far as I'm concerned, in the entire NFL. Like, it doesn't get much better than this.
Yeah, it's I like that it's at 1. They don't have too many 1:00 games left. It's my favorite time slot. So it'll be good.
Same here. I'm the same age as you. It is so nice having a 1:00 game. I know I told everyone when the schedule came out, I asked for a half day off after every primetime game. Haven't been able to take every single one of them off so far. There's only been one primetime game, but yeah, I just prefer like 1:00 games. You can have people over, you can have the whole day off, rest of your day. Like it's all good. So thank you guys all for listening. Signing off for John.
Hey, don't listen to Nate about the Jets. Go Bills. Squish the fish.
Squish the fish. I was waiting for it. I'm like, where's John with the squish the fish? So for me, Nate, go Bills. I hate the Jets, and I don't like the Dolphins either.
Allegedly.
I hate them this week. I hate them. I hate them this week, but I do respect them that they're a good team. That's all. I'm not worried about them, but I respect them. For me, Nate, go Bills. Fuck them fish. Fuck them fish. And we'll talk to you guys after the game for the recap.
Thank you for listening to the Circling the Wagons podcast. Download and subscribe to us in your favorite podcast service. Email us at ctwpod@gmail.com. That's Charlie Tango Whiskey Pod @gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at CTWPod. And most importantly, go Bills!
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, Nate.
Well, listen, the whole show is called Circling the Wagons. Say no more. I love it.